Hey guys, good to see everybody again. You know, it has been my great privilege to be able to review for you guys 73 different air guns over the last 5 or so years. And I'm about to make a claim about the Weihrauch HW97K that you see here. But before we get into all that, if you're new here, this YouTube channel, AEAC Vlog, isn't my main YouTube channel. This is an offshoot of the Airgun Exploration and Advancement channel, also known as AEAC Home. It's over there that you will ultimately catch a full review of the HW97K and many others, as well as international factory tours, international trade show coverage, shooting event coverage all over the United States, and a whole bunch more. This channel, AEAC Vlog, is my opportunity to be able to bring you guys in on my learning, discovery, and approach as I work my way towards a full review over on AEAC Home. Okay? So here's the claim. The HW97K is the perfect air gun. And for those of you guys that have been following me over the years, you know that when I receive product for review, I like to share with you what it was that I liked about the product, what it was that I didn't so much care for, what the product does well, and what the product doesn't do so well. With the HW97K here, there wasn't anything that I came across that I thought would be a detractor from anybody wanting to purchase it or own it. Okay? So what we're going to do today is I'm going to give you a little bit of history, a brief overview, and then we'll get into the sharing and what it is that I've learned about it so far. Okay? So this one came to me by way of Airguns of Arizona. So if you have a need, that's where you go to get one. All right? But the HW97 is in the 500 and let's call it the $580 to $680 price point. They're made 100% in Germany. And this is a product that's been around, this model's been around 30, 40 years, something crazy like that. Let's count it back. So in the early 80s, Weihrauch released the HW77, which was a fixed barrel, sliding breech, underlever cocking spring gun. Had wild success. It had sights on it too, if I remember. A sporter stock versus this ambidextrous one. Had great success through the 80s. And in the late 80s, Air Arms responded with the TX200. It was very similar to this gun. Everything from form function right down to the record trigger. Okay? Well, Weihrauch couldn't sit on that. So in the early 90s, they responded with the HW97K. And with that came all of the little developments and performance enhancements over the years, as well as an ambidextrous stock. They ditched the sights, and I'm sure they did some other things as well. All right? But this, for me, I don't know about you guys, but the HW97 is the number one requested air gun that I review that I've had consistently in and out over the last 5 years. In other words, I can't go a month without 2 or 3 over 60 months requests to review this gun. And I'm finally getting my hands on it. And I have to say, I'm really completely blown away with it. So thank you, Airguns of Arizona, for giving me this opportunity to share with my audience all the greatness in this rifle. But the current version here, the 97, is available in 3 different stock options. This one's called a blue laminate. They've got a beechwood that's like a stained walnut. There's a black one. I don't know if it's a black painted wood or a black synthetic, but it's less expensive. I think you're closer to 500, so maybe you're 500 to 680 as far as windows, so it might be synthetic. They're all 40 inches long. This one by itself weighed 8.2 pounds. Scoped, it came in scoped and with the big old Sports Match Rings UK DM60 damp amount that you see here. Came in at 10.7. So it's a it's a hefty deal. Okay, it uses a coil spring. All right, has a very short barrel. The barrel's maybe, I don't know, 11 inches or so. Okay, and we'll get into all of that later. Nice rubber butt pad on the back. Under lever cocking sliding breech, and I'll demonstrate that for you, and a fixed barrel design. So if you're used to the brake barrels that we all grew up on, this is kind of the next evolution of that, and it brings with it a lot of performance enhancing benefits that I'll share with you. The safety is auto setting when you cock the gun. It cannot be decocked. The safety cannot be turned back on once you've turned it off. Those are some things that I noticed. The trigger is a dual stage. It's a match trigger, and it's adjustable. It's called a Record, R-E-K-O-R-D. If you're new and you want to research it, it's probably one of the most sought after triggers on planet Earth when it comes to spring guns. And, I think that that's the general overview of the rifle. So what did I learn about it? Well, it's been a lot, actually. I've had the privilege of being able to review a lot of Weihrauch for you guys. HW35, HW95, the TX200 by Air Arms, the Pro Sport, and now the HW97 here. And I got to tell you, I like this gun so much, I'm going to be asking Weihrauch if they'll credit Airguns of Arizona so that I can hold on to it. This is something that I want in my collection forever. It was that good, and it was that much fun to shoot it. And what made it good and fun was the accuracy, the ease of cocking, the ease of shooting, the beautiful trigger, the insanely incredible quality of the whole thing, and just the feel of it. I can't think of anything that that someone wouldn't love about this gun except for the price. But you get what you pay for. This is about double the price of, the inexpensive brake barrels that you see in the big box stores, like the Umrexes and the Gamos and the Crossmans. But, you get online and, these are guns that have about 30, 40 years. You got people passing them down to their grandkids. It's that level of quality. It's firearm level of quality. But, okay. So let's go tip to tip. That might be the easiest way to do it. So I think I'll first demonstrate for you the fixed barrel under lever action sliding breech in the Weihrauch HW97K here. And then we'll get into the performance benefits of that. All right, so you can see the sliding breech right here. That's where your pellet's going to be loaded. Okay. The barrel is a fixed design, okay, meaning it's secured to this tube. So I'm going in reverse now, aren't I? There's none of this like brake barrel up and down stuff where as parts wear and settle in, you're going to have changing point of impact over the years or as time goes on, even if you're keeping everything, all the screws and stuff locked up nice and tight. And this completely fixes it. It completely fixes barrel droop. And I'm going to share with you in a little bit here something astonishing. I don't know if it's a one-off phenomena, but it's my story with the HW97 here, so I'm going to share it with you. But the way this works, there's a little release button. A little release button up at the top here. And you press that in, okay? So I'm going to kind of put this in a safe spot here in my hip. I'm going to push in this button, okay? And that drops down the cocking lever. And keep an eye on the breech as I cock this air gun. Okay. Did you notice how quiet that was going back as well? There was no springy, crinkly, boingy, goofy stuff going on. I will probably share with you now. I had a decent amount of twang for twang in the shot cycle for about the first 75 shots, and then things really settled down. Especially shooting an 8 and 10 grain pellet. You stay in that territory, and I know some of y'all are really sensitive to boing and twang in a spring gun, but I absolutely love it. It's a great break for me from the PCP air guns that I shoot that go poof, and it's a great break from the powder burners I shoot that go bang, and it really takes me back to my childhood. With that, the very little bit of twang that you're going to get out of this gun. And I'm going to demonstrate demonstrate it here for you. All right. So here's the breech. Okay. Your pellet gets loaded in right here. All right. Just press it up in there, and then you just very gently, okay, bring that up and lock it into place. Now the safety automatically engaged itself. All right. Which you can't see just off camera, about 2.5 feet that way, probably 6 inches out of frame, is I've got a giant cardboard box filled with rubberized mulch. All right, so here's the safety. Safety off. And this is also a good time for you guys to be able to kind of see this trigger. And I'm going to share a lot with you about the trigger in a little bit, but we'll get to that as we work our way end to end. But it's a dual stage. Here's the first stage. Okay, and with 1.5 pounds of pressure, which is where I currently have it set, here we go. I want you guys to listen. Okay. We're in a big, echoey, 2,700 square foot house, and there just really wasn't any twang. And I've got probably 300 shots on the gun now, but I noticed that really started to go away at about 75 shots. And it got progressively better as I worked my way through 300. I'm never going to touch this. I'm not going to get some fancy aftermarket rebuild kit to eliminate the little schmuckstin of twang that's left, because I love it the way it is. It's also probably a good time to point out something Weihrauch does differently with their receivers, their action, is you'll notice on a lot of the competition, this end cap is kind of like a removable deal. It's not. This is a one-piece milled receiver. And they must put all the guts in through this way to put it together. And it just lends itself to a really rigid, well-designed. It's like buying, it's like, you know, if you were to spend $300 on a meh air gun, and then $100 on a tuning kit, and to pay someone to put it in, you're 3/4 of the way there, you know, to this. So you might as well just ink up and get yourself one of these and enjoy it for life. All right. But so that's the shot cycle. Super smooth, super slick, super fun to cock. I had no problems going 3-4 hours at a time, several hundred shots doing that and not getting tired. It was just really enjoyable, really smooth. This bar is very pleasant to grab onto, and it was just a very enjoyable experience. Okay, so this bit here is what they call a muzzle brake. It is not baffled, but there is a cap on it. And at first I thought, well, that's not going to do anything. But try shooting it with and without the cap and take observation of the noise difference. This actually does work to quiet things down. It reminds me a lot of the moderators that FX brought out back in the day on the Royale 400, the Royale 500, those big tubes that were they were empty tubes. There wasn't anything in it, and they did a great job to quiet things down. Kind of same design here. I should mention these are available in 177 and 22. This one's a 177. And your big power here, guys, for a 177. Across all these different types of pellets, and we'll get into that, I was averaging 14.5 foot-pounds. I saw some 16 and 16.5 foot-pound blasts in there as I worked my way through it. With those pellets carrying 9, 10, 11 foot-pounds of energy, 25 yards out, which for those of you that have used a 177 in the 15 foot-pound range and used it to go hunting of, like, say, small game like squirrel and rabbit at 25 and 50 yards, they hit with a wallop at 25 and 50. So it's all you need to go hunting. But it's just kind of a hollow deal, and the barrel starts right here. If you want to clean it, cock it, make sure the safe's on. It's going to automatically activate for you, and put a little drinking straw up here in the business end, or use an 11mm Allen to unscrew that cap. And you can just pull your patches through. All right. This barrel. Oh my God, this barrel. Never in all my days, and I say that like I've been doing this for 20 years, but I've been reviewing air guns for a lot of years for you guys. This barrel, it's got to be, like, if it's not my favorite, it's definitely right up there with my favorites. I don't know. In fact, I was so smitten with the barrel, I reached out to Weihrauch, Germany, and I was asking them all sorts of questions about it. And they answered some of them for me. All right. But it's a 415 millimeter twist, which is 1 in 16, a 16.2, 16.3 inch twist. And the reason I wanted to know that is because this thing shot lights out at 25 yards, whether I was shooting 5-shot groups or 10-shot groups, doing multiple shot charts for you guys. I was experiencing PCP accuracy at 25 yards, and it was easy, and it was powerful. I would take this all day long over some of those other Magnum Springers that you see in 22 and 25 cal in 177, because it shoots fast, it's flat, the recoil is manageable, and it is stupid accurate. And so, I wanted to know, I'm like, what's the deal with this barrel, guys? And what I basically learned is that they make all of their own barrels in-house in Germany at Weihrauch Sport. It's their deal. It's their design. And you guys know, like I know, if you've been following me over the years, I always like to ask the manufacturer, because there's always a pellet that the manufacturer has designed the barrel around, whether it's Lothar Walther or FX or CZ barrel, or pick your manufacturer of airgun. There's always a pellet that they've developed that gun around and wanted it and tried to make it work well with. And when I reached out to Weihrauch, I was like, what's the deal, guys? Your gun works so damn well with a ton of different pellets. What pellet did you design this barrel around? And their answer was, well, to be honest, Steve, we designed the barrel to be as good with as many different pellets as we possibly could. We tried to come up with like a universal barrel. The damn thing even shoots slugs, and I'll share that with you. And so that was kind of a biggie for me. And why is that important? Well, as you guys know, for us air gunners, one of the funnest parts is the discovery, and to be able to shoot it with all these different pellets and see what works well and when and how. It even shoots a bunch of the fun hunting stuff well, and we'll get into that. Even polymags, but I'm getting ahead of myself. But it's extraordinary, the accuracy, and I'm pretty sure that when we get this thing out to 50 yards, it's going to be 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch groups. And if there's movement, it's going to be because it's a spring gun and it's me. You have a human element in this, and you have wind, because you're in the 8 to kind of 10 grain window as far as what this thing is going to want to shoot well. But what more can you ask for in a spring gun? It's just fun and easy. It loves everything, and it's crazy accurate. All right. That fixed barrel design. So what I did, I slapped on my Sports Match DM60 Dampa mount. I wanted to try this mount. It's just a big one-piece solid mount with a pin in it, so it wouldn't move around on this Magnum Springer. I hooked it up with this MTC Mamba Ultralight. This mount, you're about a $60 deal, and this scope, you're about a $300 deal. This, guys, is a nice scope, and I'm kind of surprised by that, because I've been able to review some MTCs, and for me, they've always I've lumped them in that category of like really good quality, but a little spendy and a little bit heavy. Okay, so when I saw this one for $300 and it was an ultralight, I was very interested in this for a Springer. AOA actually recommended it for this gun when I reached out to them about it. It's Springer certified, and apparently it's a tank. It's a nice little 1-inch tube to keep the weight down. But when you read the marketing literature on this scope, they apply some special coatings to the lens that are in addition to the normal, magic coatings that you're going to find in the $300 price point scopes that really help to offset that with brightness. It has an SCB2 reticle, which is a beautiful mil dot reticle. And it's is it a 3 to 10? It's a 3 to 10 by 40. Yeah, 3 to 10. Yeah, 3 to 10 by 40 side AO focus wheel. It's a true mil-dot scope at 10x, and it has this little click at 5x. I don't know if you can hear that. It's very quiet, so that you can adjust accordingly. The turrets are just, I'm skipping all over the place. Sorry, guys. But I just want to share this with you because I'm excited about this scope. The turrets had a really nice positive click to them, cool little caps. And it's an illuminated reticle. And you know, we're all used to those illuminated reticles with the big clunky dials. This one doesn't have that. This one has, like, you put the battery in here and it has a little push button to go through the different levels of illumination and off. Just super cool, super smitten with this scope combo. Like, this is like the perfect air gun. You ever watch, like, you know, The Mandalorian? Like, this is the way. This is the way, guys. This thing's just amazing. But back to that fixed barrel deal. So I reset the Mamba Ultralight to its optical center, right? I slapped on the mount, slapped on the scope, you know, set the target about 10 feet away, took a couple of shots, and my left and right was like dead on, and I was about 2 inches low. And I thought to myself, well, that's cool, because that never happens, you know, especially with a brake barrel. So there's some seriously good alignment in manufacturing. Like Weihrauch, Germany, obviously, obvious, really has this dialed in when it comes to the alignment of the barrel with the receiver. And I think that plays a huge role in accuracy, as well as the rigidity and the one-piece-ness of it all, if that's even a word. But so then I moved it out to like 30 feet, and I'm noticing it's coming up, but it's perfect. It's perfect left-right still. And I'm like, I bet you this thing's going to be dead on at 25 yards. Dude, this thing was dead on at 25 yards. I moved the target back to 25 yards, and I was like 3 millimeters low and left, 5-shot group right out of the gate with a clean barrel without even having to touch the turrets. And so I don't know if I just got lucky with the scope. I looked up the information on the damp amount to see if there was any MOA built into it. There's nothing in the marketing literature that I found. I couldn't find anything in the marketing literature on MOA being actually built into the receiver. But I have a strong suspicion that Weihrauch and all of their fine-tune and tidiness has set this thing up just to be dead on at 25 yards out of the box. And that was really something for me. I mean, it kind of, not that it was a huge deal in and of itself, you know, from a laziness perspective, but it was a huge deal because it told a story about a gun that's enjoyed like 40 years of evolution and 40 years of being on the podium at field target matches all over the world. You know, just cool, cool stuff. Moving on down, a little 11 millimeter dovetail, auto safety, we talked about that. The stock's ambi. Ambidextrous. I know some of you all lose your minds when us YouTubers add a syllable in there. Ambidextrous instead of ambidextrous. That 3 just makes you all need like a tranquilizer and a therapy. When you hear 3 syllables over a tranquilizer and a therapist, when you hear 3 syllables over 2, I always get a kick out of that because I do it sometimes too. Nice rubber butt pad, doesn't move, but guys, this thing is just, oh my God, just a rock. Okay, trigger. Let's talk about the trigger, and then we're going to get into some nitty gritty with what I found with accuracy. An aftermarket OEM moderator. Astonishing findings there from Weihrauch. Pick one of those up for about 105 big ones. We'll get into that. Trigger. So this is the record trigger, REKORD. It's kind of the brake barrel, spring gun, underlever, whatever trigger that all other triggers are measured by because it's awesome right out of the box. This one broke at about 2 pounds. Had a nice light first stage pull, comes up on a hard wall, And then with a little bit less than, no, it was about 2.5 pounds, if I remember. 2 pounds, 6, 7 ounces, something like that. Boom, goes off. I had no problems with accuracy at that setting. It's a good hunter setting. But, you know, I'm the guy that likes to wring all the performance out of these things that I can to relay to you guys, you know, what it is that you can expect in your ownership experience. So I got on the owner's manual, man, and I went after it. So there is one trigger adjustment screw, and rotating it counterclockwise reduces the break weight. All right. I wound up counterclockwizing it 1 3/4 turns, and the break weight kind of moved itself into that 1.5 pound territory. And I was noticing like I was hitting like a place of diminishing returns. Like I'd go 1/4 turn at a time, working my way through those 1 3/4 turns. And the improvements, the reduction in break weight I was getting became less and less and less and less. So I kind of left it right there. You might be able to get it down to 1 pound. I don't know. Maybe you guys who have these can say so in the comments. The TX200, whose trigger I think is modeled after this one, I was able to get that down to 1 pound. No problem. So maybe you can with this, maybe you can't. I don't know. Okay. I do have a recommendation for Weihrauch. Hopefully you guys are watching. Back there in Germany. All right. And this is one little bit of a goofy thing with this trigger. So to turn this screw, and it feels like it's either a soft steel or a hard aluminum alloy. I don't know. But to turn it takes a lot of force. In other words, I had this thing upside down in my lap with that flathead screwdriver pressing hard, like probably 30, 40 pounds down, moving that thing. Because if I didn't, it would want to, the screwdriver, the flathead would want to buck out of there and tear up, tear up the flat receiving part of that screw. All right. In this trigger guard, the hole doesn't have a diameter that's large enough to accept a screwdriver that's going to have a blade that's wide enough to fit in that hole without wanting to bounce out of there. So you combine a super stiff turning screw with a soft metal with a hole that doesn't allow the right size blade in there. And Weihrauch, I love you guys, but you're setting your customers up for disaster to damage that screw. I think the whole thing would work fine with just a little bit of a larger hole in the trigger guard. Trigger guard's metal, by the way, guys. I think it's good that there's a lot of stiffness in this screw. It holds it in place, keeps it from wandering. If you could increase the strength of the metallurgy, that would be good too. But it was just something that I noticed, and I don't want to see you guys booger up your $680 spring gun, so I wanted to pass it on to you, pass it on to Weihrauch, and maybe they'll make that hole a little bit bigger for us or do something to make it a little easier for us. But that's the record trigger. And it contributes that and the smooth shot cycle and the fixed barrel design and whatever magic pixie dust the manufacturer sprinkled on this barrel when they invented it, and the one-piece milled receiver just make this thing an absolute pleasure to shoot. And I'm going to do it one more time. Let's do it with like an 8 grain, so you guys can hear the difference. Because if you're gonna generally speaking with spring guns, with coil spring guns, and if you're wondering if I would ever want to put a gas piston in here, a pneumatic piston, the answer is no. Because to me, the reliability is better with springs, coil springs, instead of a gas pneumatic spring. Okay. Gas pneumatic springs are also sensitive to temperature change. As the air temperature goes down, you're going to get a reduction in velocity. And you don't with these. Can one of these break? I've heard of them breaking, but on the cheap stuff. Never really the good stuff. I think this is a 7.87 grain, which is pretty light. Let me make sure we're lined up here. Otherwise, my wife's going to have my head on a platter if I put one out the window there. And here we go. All right, so first stage, Comes up right against that nice hard wall, and with a 1.5 pounds of pressure. Okay. It's just a very unique shot cycle. It's like you can tell there's a spring in there, but you don't get the boing and the twang that you're going to get in a less expensive deal. All right. Let's talk about this quick. So it's not that loud. It's powerful, but it's not that loud. Outside, it's even quieter because of this. You know, you've got like this reservoir up here and this cap with this 11mm hole in it. You know, it does dampen things down pretty well. So Airguns of Arizona also sent this OEM moderator. Comes in this deal. They're $105, and it's designed specifically for the HW97K. Okay, I can't show you this because YouTube gets funny about it, but you unscrew the cap and you just screw this in. That's all there is to it. And when I saw this, the first thing I thought to myself, well, there's no way in hell that's going to make any kind of a difference on a spring gun. So I've shot a lot of spring guns over the years, and I've shot them like with and without baffles, or with and without like these muzzle brakes, and they all sound about the same to me, especially in this like 15 foot-pound solar system that a lot of the best ones are. So I looked at this thing and I'm like, why would Weihrauch go through all the trouble of designing, manufacturing, shipping, selling, building, their own custom moderator for the HW97? And the short answer is this thing actually works. So I did several shots without it. Then I did several shots with it right away, and I heard a difference. I'm like, that mechanical spring noise, it got quieter, and that's not my imagination. So I'm getting ahead of myself. Normally I don't bust out the decibel meter until the full review on AEAC Home when I'm out in the big pasture and there's no echoing and all this other stuff. But I busted it out early, and I took 3 shots without this just to make sure, and they're all about the same on the reading. And then I took 3 shots with this, and they were all about the same on the reading. And it was a solid 3 decibel drop. And my guess is the reason for that isn't so much like the air, but this is actually acting like a spring muffler. So I think the sound waves that are coming from this spring and this power plant are actually getting sucked up by this. And this is baffled, guys. You look through this, and it's a baffled deal. It's metal. And so it's quiet, guys, the thing's quiet by itself. But if you want to add 3 more decibels of hush, you got a great option here for $105. So the next thing, obviously, I wanted to know was, well, is there going to be a point of impact difference, 1? And 2, is it still going to perform? Is the gun still going to perform with this and all these pellets? Because if you guys that follow me, you know that aftermarket moderators, they change the airflow and the turbulence around and behind the pellet. And sometimes that's for the good, the better, for accuracy, and sometimes it's not. So what I found out was that after doing this original cull, as you see the gun here, and this gun performing at a stupid high level with everything you see here, from Predator, H&N, JSB, all the variants, and Nielsen Specialty Ammo, and the Howler slugs up there, that cull is going to change for you guys. So basically I ran a test. I grabbed 5 different pellets that I knew had already performed, like they were all going in like, Tic Tac size holes 25 yards down range repeatedly for 5 and 10 shots, no problem. And I retested with this, and 3 of those pellets it did great with. It maintained its accuracy, and 2 of them it destabilized. And so that's going to be the name of the game when you get a moderator. So that's just a nice little lesson for you. The takeaway is that these can contribute to pellet stability, i.e. accuracy, at far distances, like 25 and 50 yards is where you'll notice it. 50 and 100 on a PCP. It will drop the noise, which can be good for if you're out hunting, repeat shots, covert ops in your backyard, whatever. But this is the real deal. But it's if you have a bunch of pellets that your gun's gonna like or likes because you've done the due diligence, expect a change in that. Some it's gonna like and some it's not. Point of impact. When I screwed this on, the first time I screwed it on was about 2 inches low and dead center. And I had a comment, a lot of you follow me on Instagram. AEAC, my Instagram page is Hooked on Air, all one word. And my Instagram page is kind of cool because it's my day-to-day learning and tech notes and photographs. Instagram is my live feed. So if you're watching me on Instagram, when that picture goes up is when I learned it or when I saw it. When that tech note goes up is when I learned it and when I saw it. And some of you one of you commented, well, that, as I shared there, that 2-inch drop, is that from a reduction in velocity? These don't reduce velocity. I've never seen an aftermarket or an OEM moderator change velocity. Okay, it changes turbulence and it changes sound. And sometimes the added weight can even make the guns easier to shoot well because it helps with, the gun bouncing around in your arms and on in a gun vise or on the bags or whatever. And the second time I screwed it on, it was, the elevation was dead on and it was like 1.5 inches to the right. So, there's some indexing involved. You guys are going to have to figure that out. But once you get it sighted in, you'll probably have to resight for this, but once you get it sighted in, you're good to go. And remember, 11 millimeter Allen, just to unscrew that cap. Whew. Okay, so I think I'm going to save accuracy for last. I know that drives you guys nuts. Let's get into velocity, power, and shot charts. So this is going to be an 8 to 8. I'm going to claim 8 to 11 grains is going to be the sweet spot in 177. It'll shoot fast, flat, and you'll be between 800 and 1,000 feet per second. Okay. I did shoot a 5.5 grain alloy, and it went like 1,100 feet per second, and it broke the sound barrier. Cracked like a 22 rimfire. It was loud. Don't do that. It's not good for your gun. It's not good for accuracy. But so I think if you staying north of about 7.8 grains, I think I was in the 900s with a 7.8, 900-ish with an 8. That's a really good place to be. And it loves all the 10 and 10.5 grains. It shoots them 830-ish. Great. Fast, flat, straight, super stable. Time and time again. The shot cycle's smooth. Spring guns, break barrels, or fixed barrel, they can be hold sensitive. Some are horribly hold sensitive. Google artillery hold airgun. You can learn all about that. Some are not so sensitive. One of the things I loved about this thing is even on bags, it was not hold sensitive. Any wandering about had to do with my interface with the trigger and the gun. So just be consistent in those areas, and you're going to enjoy some really good, consistent groups. Stupid consistent accuracy. But 14.5, I had some dieseling. 50, 60, 70 shots in, it started dieseling, and I saw some smoke. I saw some velocities kind of come up higher than they should be, but it really seems to have settled down into that 14.5 to 15.5 foot-pound range. About 300 shots in. I only had dieseling for maybe 20, 25 shots, and then it went away. Remember, clean your barrel after dieseling, get all that gunk out of there. But it's normal. It's a normal part of a break-in for any spring gun that takes advantage of a spring piston. That's just those lubes in there igniting, like a diesel engine would ignite the oil in there into compression. And so you get a higher cylinder charge, greater velocity, a little bit more bang, a little bit more smoke. It is not a good thing because it changes your velocity and therefore it changes your point of impact. So you want to work that out in the break-in, clean the barrel, then you'll be able to enjoy it for thousands and thousands and thousands of shots the rest of your life, right? I did shot charts at about 250 shots in or so, okay? I was seeing pretty consistent velocities except for, you know, the little bit of dieseling I had kind of towards the middle end or middle beginning. And the power plant in here, like I said, I would not mess with it. I wouldn't buy a tune kit because with two different pellets, 8 and 10, I'm getting extreme spreads in like the 12 to 14 foot per second range and standard deviations 4, 5. So we're talking like expensive PCP territory. So good. Don't need to mess with it. Good. All right. The H&N Sport Barracuda Field Target 9.57 grain. Okay. 14.3 foot-pounds. Average 821 feet per second with that 10 grain. I saw 820 to 830 depending on the pellet, I think. Kind of in that range. Extreme spread 13, standard deviation 4.1. And that pellet was a dagger, an absolute dagger. So you can see for yourself how nice and flat that sharp chart is. Broke in wonderfully. Okay. Everyone likes to shoot an 8 grain in 177 because you don't get that drop if you want to reach out at 50. And, you know, that being said, let me hit this real quick. In a spring gun, normally you, the shooter, will perform at a higher level with a lighter weight pellet because a 10 grain is going to slow the shot cycle down versus an 8 grain. It's going to speed it up. What I mean by that is from the time you pull the trigger to the time that pellet leaves, there's less movement in the gun the lighter you go in the ammunition. So your point of impact is going to be much more stable. So if you're a 10 grain shooter, try an 8 grain. And you're going to notice that shot cycle speed up. And you're going to notice that your accuracy probably gets a little bit better. And that's because there's less time for the gun to wander around and move around in your hands between the time when that trigger goes snap and that pellet leaves. So follow through is incredibly important as well to practice your follow through when you're shooting a spring gun. All right, so the Predator Polymag, the shorts. I tried the metal mag. I tried the regular Polymag. I didn't like them. But I put in these 8.02 grain shorts. Look at that, nice and flat by 10 shots. 14.52 foot-pounds. Held on to 9 foot-pounds at 25 yards. This one was 10-ish, if I remember, at 25 yards. Okay. 903 average, 14 foot per second extreme spread, 4.9 foot per second standard deviation. Good, clean stuff. And again, after the break-in, I didn't see anything goofy. Okay. All right. Normally, when we talk pellets, I verbally like to take you through the performance, but I think that would be so mundane and boring for you guys. I think I'm just going to take my video camera, point it at the fountain in the backyard, so you guys have some nice spa bubbly in the backyard, or nice some spa bubbly ambient sound, and I'm going to toggle you through 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 15 different types of pellets across 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 different brands. So 15. So it's 12 pellet or 13 pellets and 2 slugs. The slugs that it liked were the NSA variants, the 12.5 grains. I was lobbing them at 600 feet per second, but they were doing dimers. 600 feet per second, the foot-pounds was down, probably 10, 11 foot-pounds leaving. But they probably held on to most of that 25 yards away because it's so heavy. But they were doing dimers at 25, man. So I don't know what Weihrauch has done with this barrel, but it loves everything. And it was so easy to shoot consistently well, time in and time out. But I think I'm going to rotate you through all of these and a lot of their velocities to some music. We'll take a little break, some water music. You guys can enjoy that. You'll have that info, and then we'll wrap it up with some giveaway goodies over here. Before we do that, I do want to mention that something that's really cool is this barrel also liked the fun hunting pellets. For example, it liked the Polymag, the H&N Terminator, the Barracuda Hunter, even the H&N Hornet. And a lot of times when I get these guns for review, they do really well with the Diablo-shaped pellets, whether they're an H&N or a JSB variant, but then things kind of fall apart when you get into the funky-shaped pellets, the ones that land like, you know, you just wound up with a baseball bat on the side of an oak tree. That's what they sound like when they hit Mr. Squirrel, you know, 25 yards out, but it just loved them. So here it comes. Enjoy that information, and I'll see you guys in a few to wrap it up. Oh, I should tell you, before you look at all of these pellets, these are all 5-shot groups at 25 yards, okay? For these shot charts, these were 10 shots, and I'll show you the 2 groups right now and right now so that you guys can see what the 10-shot groups at 25 yards look like for these 2 guys. And they're shot charts, so I'm not like doing my super aim thing. I'm doing like my, you know, kind of aim thing. I'm not giving it my 100%. But anyway, here you go. Enjoy the info, guys. Okay, so before we depart, I got some goodies here from Airguns of Arizona. I got a couple of Weihrauch ball caps. I got a couple of Weihrauch pellet holders so that your lids don't, your JSB lids don't fall off in your pocket. I got some Weihrauch pens and some Airguns of Arizona stickers, and I got a bunch of Weihrauch breast pins, or pins that you could put like on your hat. And so what I think I'll do is, if you live in the continental United States, because I'm going to pay to mail this to you, the first two of you guys in the audience that respond in the comments, hey, I would like that stuff, I'm going to split this between the two of you, and offline I'll get your information, and I'll mail this stuff to you. You each get a hat. You'll each get you can't get a pen and a half, so maybe you'll each get one and I'll keep one. You'll each get a pellet holder. You'll each get a pin, Weihrauch sticker, some cool Airguns of Arizona stickers, and I'll get those off to you as just, thank you. I appreciate you guys hanging with me all these years. I appreciate how a lot of you have come from the main channel to hang out with me here. 17,000 and some subscribers without ever having really fired a shot kind of says a lot. It says that there's a demand for Airgun Classroom, not just the review process. And weather permitting, I probably got about a week filming and a week in the chair putting it all together, and you'll catch a full review of the Weihrauch HW97K, the Sports Match Rings UK Damp Amount, the MTC Mamba Ultralight Scope, and the Weihrauch OEM HW97K moderator. You'll catch a full review over that over at AEAC Home. In the meantime, you can follow me on Instagram if you want to know what I'm doing every day, Hooked on Air. And I've also got Facebook, where all my industry press releases, these manufacturers like to send me their press releases. Got a bunch of them up there, and some other stuff. You can check me out on Facebook, AEAC, Airgun Exploration and Advancement Channel, Hooked on Air. It should all bring you to my page. So I think that's everything I want to share now. The rest, y'all are gonna have to wait for. So with that, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, I hope this video brightened your day a little bit, and I'll see you in a few weeks.